Yeah, it said in here. All right, here we are.
All working?
Yep, it's all working right now. Don't hold your breath. Who knows what'll happen?
I hope this is my last week. I'm in front of this window right here, Brett.
Okay.
Should have this office set up over here for all of us.
Good.
Next week.
Excited.
Yep. I think we're going to use it more than we think right now.
Oh, yeah, you will.
Here in Auburn.
100%. 100%. No doubt about it.
I want to make sure that we talk about your Hoover visit this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you noticed, the boys went to 29-0 last night.
Right. They beat Thompson.
They beat Thompson 2 nights ago. They beat Spain Park. They beat Spain Park.
That's right.
Was it Spain Park?
Yes,
Which
Spain
wouldn't
Park.
make sense.
Yeah, no, that was it. That's right. That's
okay, so it wasn't a region matchup then. It was just a game.
They'd already won the region.
Okay. So they beat Spain Park by 23. Man, they had many close games.
I don't think so. He's a dude. He's a super nice guy.
You think a lot of him?
I really do, man. He's the golf coach too, and he said they think they have a chance to win it in golf this year too.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Spain Park won it last year, didn't they?
Right.
I know they won 6A last year.
They've got 3.
No, they won 7A last year. So
they did.
Spain Park goes from 7 to 6, and the reason I bring them up is it's the same community. It's like this split off that's about to happen over in Auburn. I mean. You're talking about the same kids in the same area. It's wild that there's that much talent there.
The top 3 golfers at Hoover signed with Cat. All 3 of them.
Did they?
All 3 of them.
Oh, that's great.
He said because we got talking about that. So that was pretty cool, for sure. But
so he got the gist that you might know a little bit about that. Golf program.
Yeah, he found out a little bit about it.
Did he know Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Did he know Dave?
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't?
That's true. That's what made him so good.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
In that sport, if everybody knows your name and what you're about, you're going to get some kids.
You're right about that. You are right about that. We're about a minute out, everybody, from getting started here this morning, so we're glad seeing people jump on already. We have to sync up with TV and radio for this show. So
I love doing it though. It is such a benefit. I've got a 9 o'clock, so I'm gonna jump off, after about the first or second segment of the second hour. But my daughter's got a 9 o'clock soccer game here in Auburn today.
Right.
Thank the Lord, Brett.
Such a nice, such a nice alternative.
Yep.
To be able to do it from remote places. So,
pop those messages up, Brett. We will back end talk, and when
here we go.
When your mouth of the South partner gets on here, you let me know when you want me to talk.
I guess he's still in the bed. Again.
When he gets on here, you're going to have to say my name because I'm so expecting of y'all two running y'all's mouths that I'm just sitting here in the middle looking at both of you. So let me know when you want me to say something.
We've got about 15 seconds, and we'll bring it in.
Everybody watching knows I'm telling the truth too, Brett.
No, I think you're exaggerating.
You and Luke Robinson try to do a show with y'all. Good luck.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We're glad that you've joined us out there wherever it is that you're tuning us in, whether it be by TV, radio, or if you're tuning us in on YouTube or Facebook. We really appreciate it. We love being able to get up every Saturday morning and bring you the latest in what's going on locally, statewide, obviously around the country, any hot news that we want to talk about as far as things going on in the world of sports. But we can't thank JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air enough for being partners of ours for a long time here on this show. Randy, we'll welcome Luke in a little bit later on, or whenever he decides to roll out of the bed, which has kind of gotten uncommon. But Justice said, I still want the blowtorch in the bone political podcast. I don't know if the world's ready for that right now, but that might be something down the line.
That
we can dive into.
How have I missed out on that idea? That is a wonderful idea. Who came up with that? You or Wade?
I'm sure Wade did.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I think Wade's the one that really said,
Brett, you have got to get yourself away from all sports programming. The thing that people out there don't realize about Brett is he's very passionate as a sports broadcaster. You see that, you know that. He's way more passionate about stuff going on in the country than he is sports. I mean, some of his best takes are on political and so Brett, please, I, as your business partner, beg you to please take some advice, and you and the Bone do a political based show. It'd be wonderful. Justin, I need your help, my friend.
Let me add one more thing to the plate for all of us, right? But anyway, yeah, I mean that will be that might be something down the line. We'll check that out and see. But yeah, we've got comments rolling in. I'm gonna keep popping them up. Toolman said, "Congratulations to BRHS Wildcat football, great hire for the head coach." Obviously, that's going to be where we start this morning, Randy. We'll talk about that probably a good little bit here in the first hour because that is big news. It's probably the biggest news in the state regarding. It was probably bigger news than the announcement of the Super 7 being moved to Mobile. Oh, I'm just going to tell you. Look, you can say what you want, but I've still got people coming up to me going, "Hey, what was that I saw about Super 7 going to Mobile? Was that some type of false thing?" I mean, they really didn't. They didn't know. They were like, I mean, they were being serious. They're like, "Is it really moving to Mobile?" And I said, "Yeah, and it is moving to Mobile. It's going to alternate between Birmingham and Mobile." So I'm not going to be critical. It just kind of slipped through the cracks. The announcement did. I didn't hear a lot about it. You and I are fully engaged with HSA, and I had a lot of people calling. You had a lot of people calling and texting and going, "Is this right?" And so I don't know if there was a missed opportunity there, if they're waiting to unveil it and talk more about it. But when they released that information, it just kind of got passed by a lot of people.
Well, let me give my reasons why, and then I'm going to promote some of the efforts that you and I do through our AHSA radio network outlets on social media. There's not anywhere near as many sports writers, commentators, broadcasters when it comes to high school sports as there once was in this state or any state. With the death of local newspapers, and I'm not saying they're all dead, because you and I live in a community where we've got a really strong one. And so that's a benefit to Alexander City and the local community, and Kenneth Boone and all the newspapers that he and his family own. So we're very, very fortunate. But there's a lot of places out there that don't have it, Brett. And there's only 2 or 3 statewide columnists anymore that talk about high school sports. You don't get it. You don't get an opportunity to read about it or communicate on it anywhere near as much as when you and I grew up. When newspapers in Birmingham and Mobile and Huntsville were as strong as they were. So let me get my take on it. One, I like it. So some out there don't like it. I do. Let me give you the first reason I like it. Mobile's been expected to drive up to the middle part of the state, to Birmingham, to Huntsville when it comes to wrestling, to Huntsville when it comes to soccer. For how long, Brett? An awful long time. Forever. So when we call state championship games in Birmingham, how long a trip is that for Mobile to get up there?
It's a long trip.
It's a long trip. Well, is it Mobile's responsibility every single time to make that trip up to the center, to the northern part of the state to play in championship games just because they happen to be in the southern part of the state? And what you and I and everyone else out there knows is there's a lot of beautiful facilities, and it's a wonderful place to visit and have a reason to go to. You know, I think about our spring sports. Our spring sports love going south. for spring events and having a chance to go and do that, Brett. So
right.
I think it should have been blasted across the state from the Mobile area. I'll start there. I mean, maybe it's their sports commission and others down south that should say, this is the reason that we wanted this. This is the reasons that we went wholeheartedly after it. Because you and I also had the good fortune of working with Tuscaloosa and Auburn and Opelika hand in hand when that Auburn and Tuscaloosa deal was put down however many years ago, 12, 14 years ago. And all of those sports commissions, and I can tell you the names of the ones that were running them then. Don Staley over in Tuscaloosa, who was one of mine and your favorites. He's one of the best in the business. Went down to Foley, so he knows a lot about what's going on in the southern part of the state too. Right. And then you had all of our good friends up here in Auburn and Opelika, from Ron Andrews to D. Mark Mitchell to you can keep John Wild, rest his soul. What a huge loss for the community of Auburn. And we can't say enough great things about John Wild first. I don't want to dive too much into that. We will maybe here shortly, because I know you thought as much of John as I did, Brett. But all of those guys were highly, highly active in making sure that everybody knew why Auburn and Alabama wanted those games. So, Brett, I'll kick it to you. You know, at a certain point, I hope we hear from Mobile on why they wanted it and why they thought it was a really good idea. Because personally, I'm all behind it. You and I haven't really talked about it at all off camera. So your thoughts on it?
You know, when Auburn and Alabama decided that they couldn't do it anymore because of the playoff structure, this has been, you know, the topic within the high school circle for a while. Will this thing stay in Birmingham permanently, or will Montgomery get a shot at it? You know, will they incorporate a Jacksonville State, a South Alabama, a UNA? How will this thing play out? And, you know, it just kind of hung out there in the open for a while, and nobody really knew anything, and you weren't getting any information. And so this announcement just kind of came out of the blue, and you knew that Mobile was a potential. You still know that. I don't know if Montgomery. I mean, I don't know that there's still an opportunity for another location to be added. I know that was it 26 and 28 will host in Mobile, and 27 this year, and then 25 and 27 will be in Birmingham. I mean, do they add Montgomery in? Is there another venue, or is this going to be it? So that part I wanted to say. And then number two, I just remember those two sports commissions and how big an announcement it was. And I know it had a lot to do because it was Auburn and Alabama. But what a big deal the Super 7 going to those two venues was statewide and nationally. It got national news, and the partnership with both universities and the embrace of that. And, you know, this one just didn't feel that way from an announcement standpoint. And I know it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a step down, because I don't want to be critical, because I think the games being played in Birmingham are phenomenal. I love that venue. I think Birmingham with the basketball tournament and the football games being right there at Protective Stadium, it's a perfect situation, and it's a perfect fit. I'm glad to see Mobile added in, because I think, again, we haven't been back to Mobile since the earlier years when we did the Alabama Mississippi All-Star game, and, you know, maybe some other things that we did. You know, we have a lot of people in that region now that work with us that handle the broadcast down there for us, and so we don't travel as much for those games anymore. But no, I think it adds a much needed void for that area of the state. I just was a little bit taken back with the amount of publicity around it. That's the thing that I took away from it, is that it kind of caught us all off guard.
And, well, you know, and I'll speak for the HSA. I mean, two nice press releases came out on it. Our good friend Ron Ingram wrote it up and told the story about as well as you can. And he's still as good, if not the best, this state's ever produced when it comes to that. So the story's there for somebody to grab on. My point to you was, if I'm Mobile, I'm telling my story on why I wanted it. I'm going around in that community, Brett, and I'm explaining to them why Saraland and Spanish Fort and Viger and other schools see this as important, that they don't have to now travel 4 or 5 hours to play for a championship game every year. and some's got to travel 4 to 5 hours to come down there and play them. So I would tell that story a little better than we've seen so far. Maybe it's just because we're not down in that market sports-wise. Maybe it's being taught about by our good friend Rick Cleveland and Corey LeBounty and others that we work with.
Love to ask them.
Yeah, we'll need to get them on and just get their opinion on what they think about the games coming there, because I bet it's a big positive for them. They are.
It is. I guess maybe what I was trying to say is expecting maybe a press conference announcement type deal. But maybe they didn't feel like they needed to do that. I mean, maybe they said, look, we're going to push this out there and it's great and wonderful. And maybe that's the new day and age of how things like that will be handled. I don't know. It just kind of caught me off guard. I'll say that. I'm not trying to be negative about it at all. I don't want anybody to take that way. I just think that there may be an opportunity to get even more publicity from the announcement, which is good because we want to continue. We'll talk about it. We're going to talk about it a lot because that's what we do with our connection with the HSA network and what all we have going with the Alabama High School Athletic Association. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. Toolman had a great comment. We'll get to that during the break and on the other side. Up against our first break of the show. Stay tuned. More to come right after this.
That stadium down there, is it totally newly renovated? I haven't been to.
I think so.
It's nice from the outside.
Well, it's on South Alabama's campus, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
So they're not playing in Lad Peoples, are they?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
This is South Alabama's
that's
facility.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So let's see. South Alabama.
Whitney something or another. Apologize. I should know the name, but I don't.
Football stadium capacity.
It looks like 25,000, maybe even more.
Let's see.
Help us, Justin.
$25,450.
Yep.
What's up, John? Good to hear from you this morning. Yeah, 25,450.
Talk wrestling, Brett, here this hour. Congrats. By the way, you just said John.
Hancock Whitney.
Yeah. Congratulations, John Mask, our good friend, winning a dual state championship over in Tallahassee. Won it going away too. I think they won by 40 or 50 team points there in the championship round. What a wrestling program Tallahassee has, Brett.
He does, man. They are this, and he said it before, and he didn't want to jinx it, but he knew he was going to have a great team this year with everything he had coming back and some of the new guys that were going to, the younger guys that were going to be contributing too. So, yeah, he's loaded down there, man. It's the best team. He's probably didn't want me to say this. He said if it's not the best, it's one of the best he's ever coached ever in anything.
Well, look at the scores.
Oh, I know it.
They haven't had close matches, and they didn't have a close one in the championship.
So the thing is they've gone to Louisiana and Florida and Mississippi and everywhere else, and they've wrestled the best out of state and whipped them. So
undefeated duels record all year. His duels match records ridiculous over the last 20 years.
Yep,
ridiculous. Would somebody that knows better than me? Does Tallahassee have a wrestling history before him? Did they have a team? I don't know that answer.
If they did, we didn't know about it. All right, we got 10 seconds.
Okay. If you know somebody in Tallahassee, get me that answer. I could just ask John, but I'd rather do it on air.
Here we go.
And act like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Glad that you've joined us here this morning. We're just really getting started here on the countdown, and got a lot that we're going to dive into this morning and talk about. Talking about the announcement of the Super 7, the city of Mobile being added to the rotation, I guess would be the word, for
That's
the
a good
games.
word this morning,
So,
Brett.
they get a rotation. You like that rotation word there? John said 10 days left, February 10th. Got to go get them. I don't know what's going. I mean,
Auburn and Alabama play then.
Well, no, they don't. They play on the 15th.
Okay.
So
right.
I don't know what that means, John. You have to elaborate for us this morning. There's another one for you. We keep rolling them off. All right. Anyway, the city of Mobile in the mix now for the Super 7. Talking some high school sports. Do want to talk about John Mask, our good friend at Tallahassee High School, kicking everybody's tail down there in wrestling. Just a phenomenal season for them. They've still got the state championships coming up in Huntsville, but the dual championship, again, another runaway for them. And again, I'm not going to dive into details, and hopefully he's not going to come back on. He said, look, he'd come back on when they got the deal finished. John's superstitious about things like I am and like you are about certain things. So he doesn't want to break this mojo up. And so we'll have John on. He's had a big year. His son just signed to go and swim in college in the state of Arkansas. Had Camden on a couple of months ago on the Lake Martin Sports Roundup show, and was able to talk to him. And he was about to sign at that point. Now he has signed to go and move away and swim. He's one of the best swimmers in the state of Alabama, and he's going to be going to Arkansas to do that. But now John with this wrestling team has just been phenomenal this year. So he's had a good ending to 2024 and a good start to 2025.
I'll say this. I love the dual setup for wrestling. Brett and I talk a lot about this. My brother and I didn't wrestle, but my family's been very, very involved in wrestling with my dad, my stepdad, and many others in the family, and Coach Lee and what he did with Benjamin Russell. I can't imagine how many consecutive state titles Benjamin Russell would have won in the dual setup, Brett. Because the year that the 11-year streak ended, here's your little history. And if you're an Benjamin Russell fan out there, and I'm wrong by this, call me and tell me, but the year that the 11-year streak was broke by Butler High School up in Huntsville, Benjamin Russell wrestled them in a duels match, and we scored in the high 30s, and I think they either scored 11 or 12 points. So from a dual standpoint, Benjamin Russell, pound for pound with the amount of athletes that we were throwing at them. But, the thing about the individual championship, if you get 3 or 4 guys that move through and win the thing, and then you just get a couple of others that point out, you can do something in the individual side,
right,
for the state championship. But the duels is a true test. And I think John's embraced that at Tallahassee. It's a true test of how good of a wrestling team you have. You can't have your 189 just forfeit. You can't have your 160 forfeit because somebody's sick that day and you don't have anybody to put in there. You can't have your 215 just not have anybody in that weight class and you just give those points up. The really, really good teams have backups and thirds. And we used to hear this about Benjamin Russell and Ellick City. I mean, they had backups that they felt like were the second best wrestlers in the state some of those years, but they couldn't beat out the state champion that was in front of them. And in weight classes like that, Brett, it's not like you can say, okay, I mean, look at me. I'm not a big guy. I would have had to have wrestled 160 or something in high school. It's not like I can go make myself a 189. I don't have the frame for that. So if I happen to have, and we did happen to have a whole bunch of guys that are the same size as me and you, Brett, you got to beat everybody in your community that's that same size. And when that sport's as strong as it's become in Tallahassee, that's a very difficult thing. So has Tallahassee had any success in wrestling history before John Mask? I'd like to know it. I can tell you one thing, they've had an awful lot of it since he started that part or been involved in that program over the last 20 years that I've kept up with it.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. I know he doesn't take a lot of credit because that's the kind of person he is, but it's him. I mean, he built that program to what it is, and he gets those kids to buy in. And they've got a tremendous youth program in that community, and it starts there. And he always talks about that when he comes on the show, and that's where it all begins. Is the passion for that sport starts at a young age, just like it does in every sport. I mean, that's why you have Little League baseball and softball and Little League football and Little League basketball and all these different things. And kids that are good in tennis start when they really are able to hold a tennis racket. And you start any sport. Now, the earlier you start, the better opportunity and the better chances that you have at being really good. And, I know talent takes over at some point in time, but the earlier you expose people to things, obviously the more routine it becomes when you go out there and play. So, so congratulations to him. I know we'll talk some more about wrestling and all as we move along when the season comes to an end here in a few weeks. We'll talk some more about that. But Tallahassee has done a great job under John Mask coaching.
Huntsville 7A state champions again, 1-point win over over Vestavia there, and then Mountain Brook with another state championship in Class 6A in the duel. So congratulations to those two teams as well.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break here on the show. When we come back, obviously big news here in Alexander City and the state of Alabama with the hiring of a new football coach. We're going to talk about that and take your comments and move right along here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Appreciate it, John. All right, for all of you out there, my mind wasn't even in that mode, John. He said there's only 10 days till the end of deer season. Randy, I know you're upset. I know you're upset about that. So
if you would have had a trivia question for me and asked me what that February the 10th, that would have been somewhere near the bottom of my response.
Well, my mind wasn't even thinking about that. And he said, yeah, deer season ends on.
Now, my brother-in-law, he's been after him. I haven't talked to Mike in the last week or so I'm not sure if he's found any, but this weather's been good.
I'm
no aficionado of deer hunting, but I do have plenty of buddies that wait for it to get cold, Brett, where they'll get to moving around a little bit.
Right.
How about fishing right now? How's fishing?
Fishing's always great, especially this time of year. That's what John was saying. He likes
just easy to find them. Is that what it is?
Well, it's easier to find them now if you got forward-facing sonar, they can't hide from you.
I got you.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story for another day because MLF unveiled their new format this week with their first tournament. Now you can only use your forward-facing sonar for one period of the day. So they are forcing anglers to go and fish traditionally because the forward-facing sonar thing is revolutionary. It's groundbreaking. I love it. From a fishing standpoint, man, I can go.
Is it a cheat code?
It's a video game.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But it makes for boring.
I could catch fish.
Well, it makes for boring TV, man, because all you're looking at is the back of somebody's head or their ass. Excuse my language. And the camera, and like all you're doing, I mean, they're looking at a screen and they're flipping to the fish. There is no, I'm going to flip to that dock or I'm looking around. And I mean, so they're trying to figure out how to manage all this stuff. And it's not that they're against it. They're not anti-technology because obviously that's a big deal for the sport and the sponsorships and everything like that. But they had to figure something out. And it really had become every boat being in one area and everybody just looking down at their screen and jigging what they call a little FF minnow. Now, fish get smart to that stuff too, especially if you're on a body of water and you got that much pressure in one area, they'll quit biting. So it changes the way that you have to fish. I mean, it's complicated. It isn't just, let me roll out here and let me drop down and then just fill the boat up. It don't work that way. But it is changing for sure. So I'm interested to see how it all ends up after this first tournament, what people like, what they don't like, and all that kind of stuff. So we got about 10 seconds here.
Don't bounce around. Go straight to it.
I'm going straight to it. I got some comments first. So, welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Two-Man said our opinions on Alexander City bidding to host the AHSA playoff games. I just don't think, from a hotel standpoint, that stadium, the Sportplex, was built when it was built back in the late 80s to accommodate the Division II national championship, I believe. That was part of the vision of when Russell Corporation basically built that facility for the city of Alex City and Benjamin Russell High School. That's why it's such a beautiful, nice facility. It's not, again, no cut on anybody else's facilities. It's not your stadium in a box, roll it out, aluminum bleacher stadium. Now, I know our visitor stands aluminum bleachers, but these modern day stadiums now, they're all aluminum all the way around. This thing is concrete and steel, and on the home side, and it was built to hold a good amount of people and to possibly host like the Division II or the Division III national championship game in college at whatever point in time that was. Anyway, that didn't end up happening, but the capacity of the stadium and the amount of hotels in this immediate area for teams and fans and all to stay, I think probably prohibits Alexander City, and I'm just speaking off the cuff, Randy, so jump in, from being a community that could bid on something like that.
No, I can't see that happening. One thing I think will start happening with Benjamin Russell High School and Alex City with this new track facility that we finally had the good vision of putting in place. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more meets, statewide meets, sectional meets that Alex City will be able to go after, because it will be one of the top track facilities in the state. We've never been able to say that, Brett. So anybody, and I know you were involved, but there was a lot of people involved. Man, I can't say how happy I am for the kids of Alex City that they've got that new facility being built.
Yeah, we all are excited. I think, like you said, it's going to be a massive boost for our community, and there's a lot of excitement, and you're going to be able to have a facility that can host major events in the track and field. And boy, you talk about a lot of people. You talk about a lot of teams being able to come in at one time and compete. What an economic boost that would be for our community. We're looking forward to it. All right, so obviously big news here in the state. This past Monday, Benjamin Russell held a press conference and announced their 19th football coach in school history, and Kurt Johnson coming over from Montgomery Catholic, a 55-2 head coaching record mark over the last 4 years for him. He's won the last 2 state championships, one in 4A and one in 5A. Just a tremendous person. First of all, let me say that you and I didn't know him. Really, we've had some dealings with him just through the HSA, but personally, we did not know him. And, I was very impressed. I think everybody in the room was impressed with how he carried himself and the compliments that he gave everybody, and what he wants to do here, and what his vision is here, Randy. So we're going to talk a lot about that here over the next couple of segments. So that was my initial reaction to him at the press conference, and I'm excited about what he's going to be bringing to this program.
Look, just wonderful news. Walking around the state, and this past Sunday, I went in. I don't think he'd mind me saying that, but a mutual friend of ours, and Van Riggs, who does the same as you for Opelika, and we just think the world of Van. I think he's one of the best broadcasters in the state. He and I are in Sunday school class together, and he said, "Is what I'm hearing true?" I said, "If what you're hearing you think's positive, then yeah, it's true." I think that it's about to go down, and it did. It was kind of a little shocking. That wasn't a name when the school system, by the way, I wish nothing but the best for Smitty Grider. He had a great run here. The decision was made internally that it was time to go in a different direction both ways, I think, with Smitty's direction and with the school system's direction. So I hope he lands on his feet, and I'll do nothing but cheer for him wherever he goes. But Brett, when the news popped that we're going to be looking for a new coach, I must be honest, I didn't think of Juice. I didn't think Kirk Johnson would be one that would leave a program like Montgomery Catholic, where he has this thing at a level that I don't see stopping anytime soon. So, but he was ready for a new adventure and ready for a new task to go out and see if he could conquer. And good thing for us is we were at the perfect time when he was looking around, and Benjamin Russell, with their storied tradition, having top 10 wins all time in state history, very, very competitive teams. I don't know how many Hall of Fame coaches we've had, 6 or 7. It's a bunch of them. I can go back to Hampline and then Charles Lee and then keep going up the list if you want me to.
Well, we've had 4 in the last 40 years.
Well, maybe in the last 40, but you missed out on those 2 that are definitely in the Hall of Fame too.
Well, no, I'm just saying that I know you're saying the over. I said I'm just saying that we've had 4 in the last 40 years.
Yeah. So 6 or 7 right. Hall of Fame coaches. So
I think people know that. I think it's 6.
People know that, and people know what a tradition that we have here. And I know we're about to go up against the break.
No, we actually have
what a ridiculous. Let me say this. I'm not going to have time to get too much into it, but I will in the upcoming segment. So let me get my opinion on this. I was at the press conference. Brett was doing a presser with Kirk that I was taping, and I was standing there as Kirk was getting interviewed by the Outlook. So please share this to Tommy and anybody else over at Clay County that may have enough of a voice to be able to say. I overheard just about everything that came out of his mouth. And I also overheard Kirk back last year when he had the good fortune of bringing Montgomery Catholic up to play one of the best teams in the state in Central Clay. I've heard him say nothing but good things about Danny Horn out of his own mouth, firsthand. Who would say something bad? I've said more good things about Danny Horn than I've said about just about anybody in my own personal family. That's how much I think about him. I think you're second to me in complimenting the Horns and Danny and what he's done. How in the world that thing got taken out of context is beyond belief to me. And when I read it the first time, I said, good gosh. I was sitting there listening to it, and I heard Kirk say positive things. And who wouldn't say positive things? Anybody that knows Danny and what he stands for knows that he's the epitome of what you're looking to do as a high school coach here in this state. So I kept quiet about it. One reason I was able to keep quiet about it is I stay off that cesspool of Facebook. That's all that is. That is a sewer on Facebook. I post to it probably as much as anybody here in the state, but I don't look at it because it is straight sewage. If you want to bring your anxiety level to a fevered pitch, go sit on Facebook and scroll for about an hour. You'll get it to a fever. There'll be somebody out there that you disagree with politically or somewhere that will get it. And I'm sorry on my soapbox, Brett, but I do want to state very clearly that Kirk never said anything negative about Danny Horn that I heard. Not a single solitary word of negative about him. So pass that along out there.
Well,
I overheard it.
Well, you're right. And first of all, let me say this. When people read something, they immediately react. And we talk about this, and this is the thing about social media nowadays. Instead of stopping and taking a breath and go, all right, let me see what's really going on here before I deliver an opinion. When I look at it from a standpoint of what makes you put something down on a Facebook post, it's usually emotion, right?
Yes.
And so it's not good to overreact sometimes or react. And then a reaction becomes an overreaction. I'm going somewhere with this is that once you put it out there, it's out there. And I know that people that are listening to this go, well, the article's out there and the quote's out there. Once you get it out there, you can't, you can retract it, but you can't retract it. All right, let me say this about that. Sam Higgs, the reporter at the Outlook, came back yesterday and pushed out I thought, an outstanding explanation of what happened. That we had some people on Facebook, not we, but there were people on Facebook that took that thing, read into it what they thought, and stirred a hornet's nest up out of nothing. And again, I can see where you can read something into something if you really dive into it, but let's just really all take a step back and be realistic for a second. Do you think that's really the first thing on his mind is to come in here as the new football coach and to take a shot at a former coach? I mean, let's use a little common sense here, people. You think that was what his intention was? I mean, the man's leaving a program that's 55-2, that's won 2 state championships. His wife's about to have their first child. They got a lot going on in their life. They're excited. He used these terms because I interviewed him twice now. They're excited, they're nervous, and they're scared all at one time, and rightfully so. Because I remember when Kim and I were expecting our first child, and I remember, taking a job and all the emotion that goes with all that. Well, I'll pile all that into 48 hours, everybody, and see how you react to it. So I can unequivocally tell you, he told me face to face how much respect he has for this program. He purposely brought up the names of Danny Horn and Steve Savarese and Willie Carl Martin and Phil Lazenby and those former coaches, and how much he had looked up to those guys. And he came out and said, look, man, 11, 12 years ago, Catholic believed in me. I was a nobody. And, now I'm in this situation. I never would have thought I'd had the opportunity to coach at a place like this and to follow in the footsteps of so many great coaches. Now, does that sound like somebody that wants to take a shot across the bow at one of the best coaches in this state? I don't think so. I said, so let's calm down when we read something on Facebook and maybe take a step back, because guess what happens when you go ahead and post a bunch of crap? Well, your true colors come out. And maybe you don't want to show your true colors, and maybe you were emotional about it. But once it's out there on a post, because I've seen some retractions now, I've seen some people step up and go, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said the things I said. I'm a little embarrassed by what I said. I've seen those out there on Facebook, and I applaud those people for stepping up, going, you know what? Maybe I should have just taken a step back and let this thing play out before I jump to some conclusion. So I know we're over time on this break, Russ. So let's go ahead and go to break. When we come back, I think Superintendent Jay Reyes is going to join us on the link, Randy. So we're going to try to pull him in, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about it, because it's a big day for Alexander City and the hiring of a new coach. So stay tuned. More to come right after this.
Hey, Brett.
Yep.
Unless there's a comment, don't bring that back up. Let's let Jay talk about positive.
No, I got that's out. That's out. So
that just is a total waste of conversation.
Right.
Total waste.
Let me email it to him real quick.
Hey, when's area tournament? Sorry if I've already missed it. Is that next week?
It's next week.
Okay.
Yep. Next week.
Is it just 3 teams in our area? So, like, are the girls in the championship game?
The girls in the championship. They're in the championship, and the boys are too. So.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So let me tell him I just sent it to him. Just kicked it back. Should be his other one. Trying to keep up with the clock and trying to email and do all this. Y'all just bear with me, please. You ain't heard that before, have you, Randy?
Yep, I've heard it.
There it is.
I'm just glad it's not a God, if there's one human, you should have their email address right. Bro.
Well, it is. That's what I typed in. I just told you that's the
outside of me. Is there
have.
Anybody you talk to more?
No. He has 2 or 3. So. And that's the one I had that I just sent it to. I hope it goes. Well, it should have it. It ain't kicked it back again yet, so we'll see. John, you can read it on the Outlook. That's what we're talking about. If you haven't read it yet, just go to the Outlook's Facebook page and pull up the article, and then you can look at all the comments and everything that everybody got so bent out of shape about. So, Lord of mercy. Positive.
There's never a moment I'm so happy that it's not on my phone and I don't read it.
There you go.
Because that one would have had an unlimited amount of anxiety I would have received from reading all that crap.
Eliminate your problems, man. So we're about 20. Here we go.
Go to the big, Brett.
I will. Jay, hey, Jay, we're about to come in on TV in about 15 seconds. Okay, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right. There we are. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. I want to welcome in our good friend, Dr. Jay Reyes, the superintendent of Alexander City Schools. This man doesn't do much, Randy. I'm going to tell you, he just kind of sits around and drinks coffee and looks for shows like this to jump on because he's trying to find something to do. No, this is a extremely busy man. I usually get text at about 5 a.m. from him, and he's already been up for about an hour and a half. So, and then he's working till way on into the night. But glad to have Dr. Reyes on. Dr. Reyes, a massive announcement on Monday with the 19th football coach in Benjamin Russell history.
Absolutely. It was a great find for us. Having Coach Kirk Johnson, one of the most well-known head football coaches in the state of Alabama, just great to have him. I can't say enough again about the work that Shannon Benefield and Richie Brooks did, the hours and hours and hours of vetting candidates. This was an opportunity for us to, we knew there would be a lot of people apply for the job, but if I were to give you the list of individuals, as I mentioned when we had our press conference the other day, we actually verbally via Zoom or in person talked to 13 candidates and spent about 2 hours with each one of them, narrowed that down to 3 or 4 folks, and then we brought them back in. Kirk obviously was our number one choice, but there were some twos and threes that were really, really close. You're talking about out of those 13, you're talking about 10 of those individuals have played for or won a state championship. And I think that just goes back to what you guys have been saying this morning is this is one of the premier high school football coaching jobs in the state of Alabama. And I don't think there's any doubt about that among anybody in this state that follows high school athletics.
Jay, your talks with Kirk, I don't know how much you knew him before. I can jump out and say exactly what Brett said, that we knew of Kirk. We've had the good fortune of interviewing him a few times for the HSA. And so I have just watched him from afar and got a lot of mutual friends that think the world of him. But what was a couple of things that really set you off in saying this is the right man for the job at the right time here at Benjamin Russell?
Sure. Well, from a football standpoint, I think what you want to do is you want to ask people that you know and respect to tell you about their football team. And when you talk to anyone, that has played against Coach Johnson and his team, what you'll hear is that the kids are always in the right place every single time. They're tough. They're physical. They're also very respectful. You won't find a bunch of kids. And from what I've talked to is that, Kirk demands not only that they be good athletes, but they be good human beings as well. So that's the kind of things that you want to hear when you talk to other folks. But I tell you, guys, there's just something about some people that draws you unto them. And, when I talked with Kirk probably for about 4 hours, I can name 3 or 4, people that I've been around, of course, being able to be around Danny for 5 years when I was the former principal, he brings that same kind of feel is that, I'm a grown man. I couldn't play or hit anybody. I'd probably hurt myself. I couldn't even go one play, but he's one of those people that, in those 4 hours of talking with him, if he'd have told me to go over there and run through that wall, I get that feeling about him. Just like, Danny could have told me, get in Reyes and run the ball, and I was on the sideline, I would have gotten in. That's the same kind of feel that I get from Kirk, is that he just draws people unto himself, and you want to play for him. And, I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to see kids come out that have not come out in quite a while that are going to get back on our team. And listen, we've got a lot of good things going with a new high school, new athletic facilities. I think you're going to see people from externally want to be a part of our program. And we certainly welcome people to look at our community and what it has to offer. It's a great place to be. And listen, y'all think I'm kidding, but I sleep in this color. I mean, I just do. And there are a lot of people that are excited about being a part of what we've got going on. And Kirk is just going to be rock solid for us. He draws people unto himself into our program.
Dr. Reyes, we're about a minute away from our next break, so we're going to get you to stay with us. And we're going to stay up, obviously, live throughout this whole time on social media and YouTube. But we have to take a break for our statewide TV and radio. So we'll be taking a break here in about a minute. I just wanted to let you know we wanted you to stay on for at least another segment to continue to talk about this. But you're right. I think one thing you look at is the history of Montgomery Catholic and the success they've had over the last decade. And now he's been the leader for the last 4 years, and people can say what they want. They've had great teams and great players, but he finally got them over the hump.
Sure.
And Randy and I have talked about that. And so when you get the keys handed over to you, it's a lot of pressure, and they had to figure out a way to take that next step. And obviously he was able to do that at Montgomery Catholic. So what we're going to go ahead and do is take another break right now. And I want to get your response on that coming back, because we've got the utmost respect for Montgomery Catholic. I know they feel like all we do is come down there and pluck their coaches, but that should be a compliment to them. And you and I talked about that too. You want other places to come after your guy, because that means you're doing some really good things. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and take our next break here. For statewide TV and radio. We'll be back here with more of the Saturday Sports Countdown. So we keep this thing rolling. So we're still live on social media. So we can kind of answer some of this stuff, Dr. Reyes, and then we can repeat it when we come back on TV. But, I mean, that's kind of where I am with it. I mean, you can say one or two things. He could have taken the program in the opposite direction, or he could have taken it on up a notch, and he took it up a notch.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and Brett, like you said, what happens is when somebody's successful, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's Kirk Johnson, a Danny Horn, a Steve Savarese, a Terry Curtis. Everyone's always it's funny how people are almost critical of someone's success. They're successful because of this, that, and the other.
Absolutely.
How about this? Most people in life, I think the three of us would agree, you don't just fumble on to success. I mean, maybe, Barry Switzer, Dallas Cowboys, he fumbled into a Super Bowl. I get it. But most people don't success just doesn't come up and just, it's not handed to you. You have to go work hard to do that. So, that's what Kirk has done. He's gotten what he's put in, just like all of the other people we've mentioned. And he is going to have, after being around him, he is a winner. He has a desire to win. And more importantly, he has the heart to put the work in. A lot of people could have a desire to win, but you don't back it up with the work. Not this guy. I mean, this guy's got a work ethic. He's got a motor that never stops, and that's what you want to see.
Randy, the first thing that I've noticed in 2 interviews with him so far has been, obviously my job is the media guys to talk about his record, because that's what stands out. But he doesn't really like talking about. It's a means to an end. The 55-2 is a result of everything that gets put in. And I think he talks about that. He said, I know you have to ask me about that and keep talking about that record, but he said that's not really what it's all about.
Well, I've been begging and pleading for a very long time, sometimes to mute ears out there, but I think it's all built in weight room. I believe it. I'm a skinny little old 155-pound sub 4'7", 4'8", 40 guy that had a little bit of hand-eye coordination, but I was weak as well water. And if you don't work out, you're not going to get there. You're not going to be very good. And if you don't have people around you at 14 and 15 years old prodding you along to make you work sometimes when you're not sure that you want to work, because there's a certain point where you turn into 16, 17, 18-year-old kid and you're having some success and you go, I get it. I look myself in the mirror and I want to get there, and I'm going somewhere with this. I've seen his kids. They don't look normal. And yes, you can say that they're great athletes, but I'm talking about the mid-tier kid that is the backup fullback on his teams. They're jacked, man.
Hey, 30
that
seconds,
stuff doesn't just happen. So I'm more excited about what he's going to bring to that weight program, because I know that that's going to pay dividends. I got a nephew that's going to be a 10th grader next year. His rear end needs to get committed to the weight room, period. And somebody needs to kick him a little harder than I am.
10 seconds.
I'm kicking, but it ain't working, Jay.
Here we go. 5 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Have Dr. Jay Reyes with us here from the Alexander City School System, our superintendent here in Alexander City. And I want to go to some of these comments real quick before we talk some more about the hire of Kirk Johnson. Justin says, Mosley says, excited to see where our program goes. Great hire. Justin Clayton wants to know about the potential of what it looks like in the next reclassification, coaches, for Ben Russell. Does it look like maybe staying in 6A or a possibility of being a 5A school in the next reclassification?
Well, we have been for the past 6-8 years. We've been hovering on that border. And, I think in looking at where we are right now, certainly I won't guarantee anything, but we certainly look like that we have an opportunity to drop. Again, we'll keep taking a look at that, looking at those numbers. There's some things that we've got to do administratively on that side. But, I was here before and we were 6A for a while, went to 5A, and I think that we're real close, and but I remember Brett. We had an interview back down in Davidston when we went down there and beat them, I think 10-6, and we had the same conversation. And you and I both said, "Listen, 5A, 6A, listen, it doesn't matter. Our mindset doesn't change." And I said the same thing. Blue collar. Listen, we're Old Mill town, and we want to get it back 5 to 6A. Doesn't matter. When you come to our place, we certainly want to win, but even if we don't, we want teams not to want to play us. And I think that's what we're capable of, regardless of whether we're 5 or 6A. And I know Coach Johnson's going to build on that, and we're going to be a team that people don't want to play.
Yeah, no doubt. Randy, you talk about the vision of what Kirk Johnson talked about. And I asked the question in the press conference, how important is it to start in the 7th grade? And he said, well, in Montgomery, you got to start earlier than that, because he said you got to keep your kids in your area, and you got to start at Little League level. And we all know that, but from a school standpoint, it really starts in 7th grade. So he kind of elaborated on his vision there, and to make sure, our middle school is performing at the highest level and the kids are learning the right system and they're getting coached up. And he talked about it. He said, wins, I want to win, but winning down there is not the important thing. It's getting developed and getting to the point where when they get to the high school, they're ready to go.
If you're not, you're behind. You and I have the good fortune of traveling this state and seeing what some of the best programs in the state are doing. Yeah. And if you're not working down in the middle school ranks and you've got a kid that's a good athlete and he decides that he's going to start working out in 10th grade and these other kids have been 3 or 4 years into a system, good luck. Maybe the good Lord puts his finger down on him and he gets there. But for the most part, the programs that are winning for a reason, and they're working all the way down. So I applaud Jay Reyes, not just because Jay's right here, but he's holding and he's demanding excellence from top to bottom. And if you don't demand excellence of yourself, then you're probably not going to work out in this system. And that's perfectly fine with me, because I'm going to applaud the efforts out there. And I think that you'll see everything pay off here in the short term by demanding excellence down into that 7th and 8th grade program. And I said it during the break, I think all of this revolves back around to the weight room. It builds toughness, it builds work ethic. And if you don't have somebody completely committed from the 7th to the 12th grade in there, then you're going to struggle in today's athletic world.
Guys, let's talk about the success of what Ricky Pulliam's done with the girls basketball team. And then, of course, Jeremy Freeman continues to be successful on the boys side. And then, all the sports really at Benjamin Russell. Coach, you've bragged on it. They've bought in, and you've seen a difference. But Ricky, I'm biased a little bit. Ricky's a classmate of mine, and Randy played football with Ricky at Benjamin Russell, and he's been successful again, like Kurt. Whether it be at Hueytown or Chilton County or wherever that guy goes, that program wins, and he's the common denominator. And Ricky took a program that had struggled for a little while, and man, he has won 21 plus games in his first season, and won the region championship, the regular season region championship. And I know he wants to win the area tournament, but man, that's a great story here. The state's got him in the top 10.
Absolutely. And Ricky's done a great job. And it goes back to, you got to have players to play. We understand that. You're not going to win without some talent, but you cannot underestimate the value of coaching. And, Ricky's style is up tempo. They're going to push the ball. They're going to press. But I also will say this about Ricky. Ricky's one of those coaches, again, that he understands that, we can't have 58 head coaches for the girls basketball team. And that includes, even myself and our administration and parents and community members. Ricky is the coach, and everybody knows that. Now, certainly, everybody, we have accountability, but you've got to let a coach do their job. And as long as they're treating kids the right way, if they're demanding of those players, boys or girls, that's a good thing. I mean, guys, life is hard. And you come to Benjamin Russell, we're going to love you. Ricky loves those kids. Jeremy loves those kids, but they coach them hard. And I think you see the results. And I appreciate our parents and community allowing those guys to do their job. But it's just a great story. 21-6. I think we've won 20 games in the last 5 years.
That's right.
You have our boys. I believe they've won their 4th straight area championship. The girls, I think that may be the first time since like 06 or 07 or something like that. We legitimately on our girls' side, such a turnaround. If we get the right draw, I mean, I really see us going to regionals, and it's not beyond the realm of possibility that I might be sleeping in Birmingham a night or two, and I would welcome that. But Jeremy's done a great job as well. His time with Joe Blue at Coosa, he's seen good basketball all his life. We're very athletic on our basketball team. Listen, I've watched 3 or 4 games, and there's a couple of times I thought the whole backboard was going to come down when Sedarian just ripped it down, just like Randy did back when he was in high school.
Not quite.
It was, listen, we've got things rolling. And let me say this, you look about us going into a 1,200-seat arena, a basketball arena. Again, I think that's going to be a draw not only for our kids and not being disparaging to other people's facilities, but, kids, when they come into that gymnasium, there are going to be other kids that may not necessarily go, that live in Alex City that, they're going to want to play in that gym. And I think it's just another great marketing tool for us to market our program and what we want to be.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better than you said it. And by the way, Coach, the thing that comes out of the ceiling in the gym, it was bent back then when Randy did a reverse alley-oop, and we haven't been able to get it straight since. So, we've had to play on kind of an alternate goal over there. But no, but all seriousness,
I think the reality is Coach Carney had me and you sitting up there videotaping the other real athletes playing, and that's the reason it was bent. It didn't have anything to do with me, Brett.
Well, again, we want to thank you, Dr. Reyes, for being part of the program this morning, and we're about to hit our top of the hour break, but wanted to have you on this morning to talk about what a massive hire that was for Benjamin Russell High School and getting Kurt Johnson. Our hats off to you and Shannon Benefield and Richie Brooks and the due diligence you guys have done over the last 2 months.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. Again, anybody out there listening, I just, can't say enough about being back maroon and white. And I've told people this. We've got that train rolling, and I suggest that folks get on board because, listen, I better stop. I'll get emotional here on TV. I am so happy to be here, and it's just exciting to be back, and I just am so excited about where we're going to go in the future, not only athletically, but in our arts and academics. I mean, the 3 A's and the train's rolling. You better get on.
Dr. J. Reyes, the superintendent at Benjamin Russell High School, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. We'll go ahead and take our top of the hour break. Stay tuned. Another hour of Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Thank you, Jay.
That's awesome, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we'll get back next week. We'll have some more because I know we've got some more announcements coming.
Sure, absolutely.
So,
well, I just, I really think, guys, that people are watching, and we're going to pick some folks up, and that's just the way it is. Brett and I have talked about it. Listen, the days of everybody staying in the same community their whole life, it's gone.
No, they're not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
And like
people want to go play for a winner too. Man just said this. Losers don't like winners, and winners don't like losers. And if you're a program, that's why we talked about building this high school. You either are moving your community forward or you're going backwards. There is no neutral.
And
you're either going in one of the two directions.
We need to. I'll just give you a quick example. With the new high school gymnasium, we need to have a middle school and JV basketball tournaments there. And the reason we do that is, and listen, we invite everybody we can that's close by, because what we want to do is get those kids in that gym when they're in the 7th and 8th and 9th grade.
Yeah.
Again, even if you don't live here, you can, if you come, you're not playing varsity for 1 year, but if we can get a 7th or 8th grade kid to get in that gym, that's how we steal them, guys. That's how we steal them.
Yep.
So
have a big AAU tournament every summer too.
Right.
One that you promote.
Right.
A Lake Martin Invitational or something like that, dude. I mean, that's where the eyeballs are.
That's all you got. But listen, we're gonna do what we need to do to make ourselves as attractive as we need to be.
That's it's because everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, so we can whip people's what. So,
Coach, thank you, buddy.
Jay. Appreciate
you, buddy.
We'll see you next week.
All right, man. See you. All right, we got about a minute and a half to go, and hey, the truth's the truth. That's if you don't have that vision and you don't know that that's what's going on, then your head's in the sand.
Yep.
The bottom line.
Well, it's what's going on in the other communities.
Well,
I mean, you're gonna find your way to success. I mean, and you're gonna find your way to places. I don't care who your kids are or where you're from or where you grew up. If
the good thing
aren't held at a standard that you want them to be held, you're going. And look at Birmingham's the best. Thompson High School is positive.
I'm going to say this about what he just said, so I want to make sure everybody understands. If somebody moves to this community, it's going to be done the right way. And I'm not taking a shot at some of these other places because, you have to be responsible for what you do in your community and what you want to try to get away with. But the things that will happen here, if anything happens here, will be a bona fide move because we're going to follow the rules. That's what he does as a leader. That's what we do as a board. That's what this school system is going to represent. We want all the best players, but you're going to have to come here the right way. And there's ways to do that. There's absolutely ways to do that. So we're getting ready to about 10 seconds.
Hoover, Brett.
Yep.
Hit that real quick on your visit.
I will. All right, here we go. About 5 seconds.
And close high school.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar Grill and Sunshine Eating and Air. Luke just said Luke sleeping in today. I guess. We're into the second hour now, and again, he may be starting to catch up a little bit with his age and getting some of his sleep now. He normally run on 2 or 3 hours, but I think Luke will join us here shortly in a little bit, and we'll bring him in. I want to close out high school with the trip that we had. We're back on the road, no pun intended, with our On the Road show, and it took us to Hoover, Alabama, this past week, rightfully so, and had a chance to talk to Coach Scott Ware at Hoover and Coach Johnson, both the boys and the girls coaches, and just two tremendous people. I mean, you look at what they're doing with their programs. Hoover's girls are going for 5 in a row. The boys are going for 3 in a row. The boys are undefeated at 29-0. They're number 4 in the country, according to Max Preps. And I'm telling you, just two very humble people. When you talk to them, and that's the good thing about being able to jump on the road. And got Maddie with me this semester. I'm doing it by semester. I feel like I'm back in school. But Maddie's our intern, and boy, she's a superstar in the making as well, and she's learning. And so she and I were able to head over to Hoover, and she had never been to Hoover because she's not from here. She's from Texas. And, everybody say everything's bigger in Texas. We pulled up on the campus of Hoover, and she's like, my Lord, what in the world? I said it's like a small college, but But we're able to walk through the halls and go through the athletic department, and it's just exactly what you just heard from Jay Reyes. But Randy Hoover did it way before anybody else did it. They built a top-notch weight facility. Like when we walked in that weight facility, I was like, good Lord. And I've been in a bunch of them now. But Hoover's still Hoover. Now, I want everybody to understand. Everybody goes, well, they've fallen off a little bit in the foot. No. They have everything that anybody would ever want, from meeting rooms to training facilities to the gym being right there in the middle of the school and kind of everybody walking around it. I love the layout of their school. Everything looks the part. Everything is clean. Just the impression of success, the impression of what you would think you walk into a championship program, you would envision. And that's what those kids carry. Every one of them were overly polite and respectful. You didn't hear a bunch of riffraff going on in the changing of classes. And, people coming up saying, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am. And you could tell, we were walking. I'll just give this story. I hadn't even told you this. Yeah, Coach Johnson. I wouldn't mess with Coach Johnson, by the way. She intimidated me a little bit. And I asked Maddie, I'm sorry, Maddie, I'm going to tell on you. I said, do you want to interview Coach Johnson or you want me to? She said, you're going to interview her. She said, I do not want to make her mad, but she's a very nice person. But she saw another student kind of walking after the bell had rung, and he was walking through the hall. She's like, where you go? He's like, well, I gotta. She's like, get your butt to class. She said, or figure out where you're going. You don't need to be out here. And when I tell you, he went on and got down the hall where he was going. And I think he was a JV basketball player. And he was trying to say, well, we were supposed to be going. She goes, no, get on to class. But that's the kind of school they're running over there, the kind of program. I had a chance to talk to Dwayne Brown, the Tennessee signee, 6'9", and you look at that picture. I came up to his hip. I needed a stool to stand on to talk to him. And Maddie's got a picture of me interviewing him, and I look like the Vulcan statue holding up the microphone to his face. But just a great program, and I just want to go ahead and clarify that I don't think Hoover's going anywhere in any sport. Yeah, maybe they've not won a state championship in football in a few years, but they've still. And I saw Coach English when I was there, Chip English, who's now the full-time head football coach at Hoover. And I think they're going to continue to build and do a great job at that program.
Well, I don't know if you noticed yesterday, they won the indoor track and field state championships. And for the girls' side, that's multi-years in a row in Class 7A. So they expect to win championships. And this is the thing that I've always been impressed with Hoover in every sport, Brett. They don't just pick one sport like football and then just turn a blind eye to the other.
It permeates the whole school.
It does. And, I just said this to Jay, but it made me think, having AAU basketball tournaments are very, very important in these communities. We go to Hoover. I'm in that Hoover gym 3 or 4 times every spring and summer, because a majority of the big time AAU travel basketball tournaments in the state are held there at Hoover. Why, Brett? Because they got 5 or 6 gyms in there. So you can have, and this all under one roof. They've got all of the gym space and the room that you would need to be able to hold events like that. Well, that's a lot of kids that are looking around and trying to decide, where in the world am I going to play ball? And, if you see that Hoover facility and you see how much they've embraced that sport, because this is the best boys basketball team I've ever seen in the state. Anybody I talk to, I tell you this, I've been calling these championship games for coming up on 20 years. It's one of the things that I enjoy the most is calling championship basketball over in Birmingham. Probably is tops for me. I love football too, but I love the basketball. And Hoover's got the best team. Why? They've got a silky smooth wing in Salim London that's 6'5". He's a 3-year starter there at Hoover High School. They're going after their 3rd state championship. He can score it. He can get to the rim. He can shoot it from the perimeter. They always have great guard play, Brett, but they are massive in the post. And it's not only Dwayne Brown. They got the other kid standing beside him that's either 6'10" or 6'11".
He's 6'10".
He's a bigger body also than Dwayne. So they've got amazing size and athleticism, and they're coached up as well as anybody. And they got a chance. They're sitting at number 4 in the country right now.
Yeah.
They hold suit and win out. They got a chance to win a national championship in high school basketball. When's the last program in the state of Alabama that's done that?
I'd have to dig. You'd have to dig. I don't know. They just went to Alaska and won a tournament. That's the second time. Right before he became the head coach in 2012, they went out to that same tournament in Alaska. So they've won that tournament twice now in school history. So they've got a long-standing history. And I want to say something about what you said about track and field. When you turn the corner and walk down the hall where all the coaches' offices are, on the wall, on shelves going on both sides are nothing but track and field state championship trophies. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And that's what Coach Ware said. He said, this is nothing but track and field in this hall. And I mean, it's like, so if you're a track and field person and you're an athlete and you live in that area, where are you going to school? You're going to go where you walk down that hall, and it's not a cut against the other schools, but you're going to go where you walk down a hallway and there's nothing but blue map after blue map after blue map over multiple coaches. Okay. So this thing is like you said, it probably doesn't get the notoriety of the football. We want to go, oh, well, Hoover hadn't won a football championship in a few years. Their whole programs must be going down the tubes. Well, that can't be further from the truth. So we got to take a break. We come back, we'll keep talking about it, but we'll dive into some college as well. But I'm telling you, that's one of the more impressive stops I've been to with our show. So, all right, up against the break. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. John said growth in Alex City is awesome. Just don't let it get out of control. Don't lose what it is and has been special about the area for many years. I've experienced.
Well, I don't know that enrollment growth is. I think you're wanting growth of quality.
Correct.
You know,
that's what people are looking at now. I
don't think looking at seeing if enrollment growth goes from 600 to 900 state success. I mean, we're a mill town without a mill. I say this all the time to people that are traveling the state. I'm like, we grew up in a mill town, tons of white collar positions.
It's still a mill town.
It's still a mill town mentality without a mill, though.
Right.
I mean, so you're probably not going to get the population boom, but you want to do the best that you can for the ones that are there, you know. And so I think quality over quantity right now would be important.
I think that's what everybody's looking for. I mean, you want the best. You want your students to be the best. So,
Jason, it would be a shock, my friend, if Oak Mountain shocked the world and beat Hoover on Wednesday.
Is that a comment? Did you see a comment come across?
Jason just sent me and you a text.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it.
Xander's Oak Mountain team plays them on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen y'all scores, Jason. What have they been this year? Has there been a close one?
Coach Ware's the golf coach too, by the way. Everybody.
You told me that.
I think that was before we came on the air. They got a chance to. He thinks they got a chance to win it in golf too. So
Spain Park dropped 6.
Right.
Probably helped them.
But he's got 3 really good seniors too. That helps too. He said, nope. All right, we'll dive into some college here. Got some big games on today.
Hopefully Luke is
hold on, let me let this dog
coming too.
Had to let the dog in. He's scratching on the door.
I'm getting you some WD-40 for that sucker. Boy, that's worse than any radio broadcast equipment I've ever had. Is that chair you're sitting in, Justin?
If you ain't know how old this dang chair was.
God, spray that sucker down.
I do.
Bring it something to your house.
This thing's been re-welded like 3 times, by the way. All right, here we go. I'm not kidding. 5 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Again, get your comments rolling in. We appreciate all of those that are coming in. Just said, Brett, if you won't do the political show, will you do a card break show? Why don't we just do both, right? I'll just stay on all day. I'll just go from podcast to a break show to a political show, then to Auburn Blitz at noon on TV, and then we'll just come up with something else to do in the afternoon. We'll do I don't know what else kind of show you want to do, whatever everybody wants to offer.
I'm here for the political show. The blowtorch and the bone political show sounds great to me. I'm staying on it, Justin. Y'all can do all that card cutting y'all want. That's a certain segment of the population. That segment of the population reminds me of the Star Wars video that you showed me before we went on air yesterday, Justin. You got it. Have you shared that with Justin?
I haven't yet, but I'm just going to tell you. And look, I like the movie Star Wars, but I remember because I was still at Auburn in '99, like when they announced that. Well, they had announced it several years ago that they were going to release another Star Wars movie. And of course, that energized and got that whole group of people just over the top excited. Well, shit, man, I'm sorry. When the movie theaters, you talk about a mob scene and attacking. When they opened the door for Phantom Menace in 1999, that first old boy that went through the door, he collapsed on the floor. He was so emotional. And they got into the movie theater and they had all out war in there with lightsabers. They was down there. They're so excited. This is like Christmas on steroids for people. And then they got in there and they finally got them all sat down in their seats and they're trying to calm everybody down. And, the start of Star Wars starts off in a galaxy far, far away. And, it kind of just sits there and you hear that first bit of music and it pops up the Star Wars logo. Ding! Like that place, I thought the roof blew off. It's like, but you got to go find that on YouTube. I mean, it's out there. And Justin, I will share it with you because I know you will appreciate it very much. But again, we'll continue to take your comments. Again, we've had a great show this morning, a lot to talk about. We'll shift our focus now to college basketball. Auburn and Alabama, they're just the top two programs here in this conference. Auburn's number 1 in the country. Alabama's number 4 in the country. They're on a collision course here in a couple of weeks in Tuscaloosa for that first round of the Iron Bowl of basketball. Randy, that game will be on February the 15th. That's a Saturday. That's going to be exciting to see how that plays out. Now, both teams definitely have tough games in between. Auburn's got to play Ole Miss in Florida. In the meantime, I know Alabama's got some tough games ahead of them as well, but you look at Auburn taking on Ole Miss today and Alabama taking on Georgia. Georgia can go into Coleman Coliseum if Alabama's not playing well, and they can challenge them. We know that. Auburn obviously can lose today on the road at Ole Miss if they're not playing up to par. So every time you go out on the floor, you better bring your A game.
Well, Auburn, the unanimous number 1, but, it's a lot easier to look into betting odds to see what nationally people feel about your program. And currently, I think Duke is slightly above Auburn in the betting odds to win the national championship. And guess who's third, Brett? Alabama. So two of the top 3, and Auburn is just very, very slightly behind Duke when it comes to that. And so it's an amazing time to be a college basketball fan in the state of Alabama. Samford and UAB have got outstanding programs. They're tournament teams too, Brett, but I think the two best teams, bar none, are Alabama and Auburn here in this conference. And here's the reason. Auburn's able to win 2 basketball games without the best player possibly in the country. And he comes back, and I do think that he's been a necessity to pull these last 2 wins off. Right. And then Alabama at times. I thought Mark Sears, I said it over and over last year, I thought he was the best player in the conference last year. Up to a couple of weeks ago, he was averaging 19 points per game. He was leading the conference in scoring. And he's had a couple of games here of recent that he didn't play a minute in the second half. For whatever reason, Nate Oates sits him. And he goes for 0 that night. And he's had some games where you go, what's going on there? But Brett, Auburn and Alabama win without him. I mean, do you know how hard it is to take the very best players, 2 of the top 5 players in the conference, without a doubt? I mean, 2 first-team All-SEC players and possibly 2 first-team All-Americans. Take them off of your team, and you're deep enough to still win basketball games in this conference on the road like Auburn did a couple of times. That's how good these 2 teams are. And I don't think either have reached their ceiling yet. I've watched enough of Alabama to know that those 2 other guards, and look, we can say what we want about Holloway. Nate Oates has gotten something out of him that I didn't think Auburn was going to pull out of him. And right now he's one of the top shooters in the league. And Auburn, on the other hand, go out and get Todd Pettiford and Miles Kelly in replacement of him. And I wouldn't trade them back for him to give up the 2 that we've got. So 2 tremendous teams, both of them make it to the Final Four. I wouldn't be surprised.
You know, I had somebody ask us on the podcast yesterday who got the better of the deal, Auburn or Alabama, with Aiden Holloway going to Alabama. And I said, I think both did. I think that Auburn definitely embraced and has been excited about what Todd Pettiford's brought to the table out of the gate. And I think Alabama grabbed Aiden Holloway coming off a subpar year from Auburn and really have seen what we all thought he could be and become what we all thought he could be at Alabama. So they've been able to get the most and the best version of Aiden Holloway they can. So I think everybody won in this deal. I don't think there was a deal where, you know, anybody's upset. Obviously, Alabama's great with it because he's improved. Now, he didn't come out of the gate playing like this, but he's found himself. But nobody's looking in the rearview mirror at Auburn going, well, I wish we had Aiden Holloway back instead of Todd Pettiford. So I think everybody kind of wins in this deal. Look, Trey Donaldson's a good guard that we lost to Michigan, but, you know, you replace him with Miles Kelly. I mean, nobody's saying, hey, and I love Trey when he was here. And I think Trey was a good player, and I don't think he holds any ill will toward Auburn. But, hey, we were able to go get Miles Kelly, and I think we upgraded in that position as well. So all's good. And I think if you're Auburn right now, you're not complaining about anything. You're the unanimous number 1 team in the country. Let's talk about these standings real quick before we go to our next break. Auburn at the top at 7-0. Alabama at 7-1. They're just a half game behind Auburn there in the loss column. Missouri, what a story. 5-2 along with Florida. This time last year, Missouri hadn't won a game. They were South Carolina. Those 2 teams have swapped positions. South Carolina was the number 1 team in the league this time last year, and Missouri was the team that didn't have a win. So those 2 teams have kind of flip-flopped in the position. Texas A&M and Ole Miss are both 5-3. Vanderbilt is 4-3 along with Kentucky. Tennessee and Mississippi State are 4-4. And then Georgia, Texas are 3-5, Oklahoma 2-5, LSU 1-6, Arkansas 1-6, and South Carolina 0-8. So if you get past the last 3, LSU, Arkansas, South Carolina, there's still brackets out there that have Oklahoma and Texas and Georgia in the NCAA tournament. I mean, you're looking at upwards of 13 possible teams that have a shot to get in the NCAA tournament, Randy. So a lot of parity in this league, and I don't know how it's all going to end up, but, man, it's a brutal league. You better be able to play your best game every time you go on the floor. All right, let's take our next break. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. I mean, they still got them as losing records.
Send Luke a message, Brett. See where he is.
He replied just a minute ago. I don't know where he is.
I got to get out of here.
You good?
Pretty day, man.
It is
going to be a pretty week.
Back in the 70s, man.
Yep.
Love it.
Beautiful.
You ain't hear no complaints out of me. You won't hear no complaints out of Andy Graham either.
No, Andy doesn't like cold weather, does he?
Hates it.
Oh, man.
Hates it about as bad as he does mayonnaise. That's pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know what's happened to Luke this morning. I mean, he responded, said, I'll be there in a little bit. I don't know what a little bit is.
He's gone to Starbucks.
Probably.
He's got his menu. His
be
Saturday
there soon.
Morning menu.
John wanted to see the dog. Come here. Where'd the dog go? Where'd the dog go?
Man.
I guess he left.
Justin. Remind me to get that boy some WD-40.
Man, take the earphones out for a second. God, my
Justin.
I'm just gonna get some white noise and go.
Brett, that Star Wars video is one of the best.
Yeah, John wants. John. I'll try to figure out a way to get you the link to that video. I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, this is a nerd festivity at its best. The beauty of Star Wars, folks, is it's a good mixture. It's nerds and gothic.
Oh no, it's everything.
It's all encompassing.
There's no question. I love Kane to death because he's our producer, but he's one of the first ones I thought of too. Running into that, here it is. I'm gonna try to show it to you, John. By I mean, I know.
Up, Brett. So you got a Skywalker jersey on. Who's that old boy, by the way?
I don't know, but he's pretty famous. Dang, I'm surprised they didn't hit him in the face with one of those fake lights.
Do not turn it off until the Star Wars.
That's what I'm about to do, man. So.
Oh, here it comes. This is glorious.
This is it. All right, here we go. Everybody kind of gets quiet.
It doesn't do it justice. You can't hear it as good as you can. There is squealing. There are some squealing pigs in that theater.
All right, here we go. Five seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Hopefully there is a Luke Robinson sighting shortly. Hope everything's okay. Just said, I'm a nerd, but I'm not that bad. No, you are not. I've never seen you collapse from so you're so overwhelmed from excitement that when they opened the door, you just collapsed in the doorway. I can't believe he just didn't get trampled right there. But anyway, he made it in and he pulled his lightsaber out and got in a fight with somebody down there in front of the movie screen. But anyway, going back to this game, let's start with Auburn and talk about them. Ole Miss is a tough opponent. Chris Beard is a great coach. He's done a great job of building that program over there in Oxford. And look, you brought it up on the show yesterday. The thing that gives me a lot of hope in going over there and getting a win is that they don't score a lot of points, and they've only scored over 80 points one time this season. And so
in SEC play,
in SEC play, I'm kind of out of the pre. Sure. Everything I talk about now is basically SEC. But bottom line is the way Auburn defends is going to make it even harder today to get to 80 if you're Ole Miss. Not saying you can't, but you like your chances because of the way Auburn plays defense, Randy.
Well, from a size standpoint, Auburn's just bigger across the board. From the 1 to the 5, Auburn's got anywhere from a 3 to a 6 inch margin on who they'll match up with. And but the thing about Ole Miss reminds me an awful lot of Tennessee defensively with the physicality that they have. It even without the size, Brett, it's the strength. When you watch Ole Miss, they look exceptionally physical. And that played out in Tuscaloosa with the one loss in the SEC for Alabama. It was the way that they defended Alabama that won that basketball game. And all of us were shocked because that's the best offensive team possibly in the country, but definitely the best offensive team in the SEC is Alabama. And what were they held to that night? In Coleman Coliseum,
64 points,
sub 70 points. So there's that blueprint sitting out there on what Ole Miss, will expect to do or try to do against this Auburn team. Watching Auburn the other night, Auburn's guard play from an offensive standpoint's got to take another step back up. I don't know what we're missing there, but we are missing something. You keep bringing up CBM offensively. He's a little out of sorts and would be nice to get him back in the flow and get him a big game. Janai is definitely gimpy, but a gimpy Janai with how unorthodox he is getting shots up with that left hand and how big and physical he is. He's still 26-16 good over at LSU the other night, even gimpy. But Miles Kelly is the consistent right now, Brett. He's been probably the biggest get for Auburn in the offseason. In SEC play, he has been very, very consistent, and I think the ceiling is still higher for him if we leaned on him a little more on the offensive end, and I bet we do. I bet we do get a feel that this guy probably could average 16 to 18 points per game instead of the 11 or 12 that we're getting from him now. And as the season moves on, Brett, and I'd expect him to get, I don't know his minutes, but
I've got him right here.
He was used to playing a majority of the minutes, if not all minutes, at Georgia Tech. So he's used to that. He's got the frame for that. And
he's getting 26 minutes a game.
I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't go to 30 or 31 as we go down the stretch. That's how important I think he is.
Well, let's talk about this. We talked about it on the podcast. Janai Broome, 28 minutes a game, 18.2 points a game, 11.2 rebounds a game. We know his stat line. He's up for Player of the Year for a reason. All right, so when it drops off, Chad Baker-Mazar at 12.7 points a game, that's going down, by the way. 25 minutes a game. Todd Pettiford's getting 20.9 minutes a game, almost 21 minutes there, 11.7 points a game. Todd Pettiford's almost averaging what Chad Baker-Mazar is averaging. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. I think Todd Pettiford's maybe going up and he's coming down. Miles Kelly, 26 minutes a game, 10.5 points a game. Denver Jones is down to 10 points a game. That's dropped. He's averaging 26.9 minutes per game. Chaney Johnson's at 23.7. He's dropped below double-digit points per game now. He's 9.9 points per game. So it drops off precipitously after Janai Broome. Our scoring has gone down in SEC play. Chad Baker-Mazar, to me, is the biggest concern out of all this group. I know Denver Jones, what he brings to the table defensively, he's guarding the number one player usually for them outside, so he's expending a lot of energy, but he's shutting them down, so it's kind of canceling itself out. We don't lose our best offensive player when Denver Jones is out there canceling theirs out. We still have Janai Broome, which makes us a little bit different than everybody else. Plus, I think Miles Kelly picks up the slack on that. But if Denver could get back to scoring a little bit more, man, that's just a bonus for us. But I do know we need Chad Baker-Mazar to be the best version of himself coming down the stretch. So whatever he's got to do to figure it out, would love to see him have a good game today. Would love to see him score 15 to 18 points in this matchup today. Would love to see Chaney Johnson kind of get back going again. Bruce said it on our show Monday in our interview. He said, look, Chaney Johnson's going to be that guy. It's going to happen where the threes are going to start falling for him this year. He said, I'm just telling everybody. And we saw him hit a big one the other night. I think Chaney Johnson could be a guy that if he starts becoming a threat from outside, that changes everything. So we've got some pieces like you've been saying, Randy. We're not playing anywhere close to the potential of this team right now, and we're still winning, which is an awesome thing.
Yeah, all of those guys could get 20 at any given night, and I think that's a benefit to what Bruce Pearl's put together. But I'll go back to my previous statement. For me, I think Miles Kelly, as we move forward, gets another 5 or 6 minutes a game. We find ways offensively to get him some more open looks, move the offense in that flex system around with him a little more than maybe we've seen with Denver. And if we can get him to the 15, 16 point per game average here in SEC play, and once we get into tournament play, I like our chances better. I think he's the best offensive player of that group. I think he can go get a shot even when it's not an outside shot. I know that he's got the mid-range and the length and the athleticism to get the ball to the rim too. So I'd lean more on that than I would the other. If you just got me, look, we're the unanimous number one. The heck do I know? I'm just sitting here as the rest of us Auburn fans looking around saying, where's the ceiling and how do we get there? To me, the ceiling, one of the keys to get to the ceiling is Miles Kelly to be leaned on a little bit more. And I think if he is, he can give us more.
Randy, I know you got to get out. Luke's about to pop in, and we're going to go ahead and take our next break here on TV and radio. So stay tuned. More to come on the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
See everybody. Enjoyed it this morning. Good to see you, Luke. You're looking pretty. Luke,
oh boy,
did you sleep again?
No, we got so much stuff going on because of Krista's dad's death.
Yeah,
that
so sorry.
Like I said, I mean, it's hard to believe it was just a week ago. You know, it's like, God, look at my hair. But
those that don't know Luke know what we're joking about here. He doesn't sleep.
No,
at all.
What's your average hourly sleep a night, Luke?
Shoot, man.
Him and Trump.
I don't take a sleeping bill.
Well, him and Trump.
Him and 2 hours. I between myself right out of that bed.
Between him and Trump, I think they sleep about 3 hours.
Tired of
all right, I'm leaving it with y'all.
Crazy.
Bye.
Bye, buddy.
Bye, Randy. But yeah, so she had to meet with her mom at the funeral home yesterday. She didn't get home till late last night, and then she woke up this morning and was like, "I got to talk to you about some of the stuff we." Did.
Sure.
And I didn't realize what time it was, and she, so it's a lot going on.
Man, I hate it, man. I know it. Man, it just shuts everything down, and it takes. Man, it's emotional. It just everything's draining, and all the days run together. You don't know what's going on.
That's what I said. I said it's hard to believe it's been a week. I mean,
right? It had just.
I can't even get my hair right for nothing.
It don't want to sit down at all. Justin said, "Do you wear hats, Luke?" He said, "I've never seen you wear a hat."
Me, I can't get a hat to fit me.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen you wear a hat either.
I can't. Hats just don't fit my big head.
So much brain power up there, man.
That's what it is. So much something else up there. But yeah, it's it is.
It's exhausting, man.
And it's coming. It's like my uncle's in the hospital in New York. His son, they found dead in his apartment while he was up there. Mom called me and said Claudia Thomas died. John Russell.
Really? Yes. Yes.
And they go to dinner every Friday night. She died yesterday or Thursday night. It's coming for everybody, and our age group.
I know. Oh well, absolutely, it is. We're just reaching that age where
everybody we're associated with.
You start losing people.
Yeah.
So sad, man. Take every day for what it is.
Our neighbor's dog that has been alive since God knows how long just died. That's been traumatic in its own.
I'm about to sign off. I'm about to sign off this thing.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go to the Alabama Georgia game. I'm just going.
I appreciate you. We appreciate Luke bringing all the sunshine to the program this morning.
Welcome, Captain Sunshine, Luke Robinson.
Let's bring in the the life update from Luke Robinson,
the Grim Reaper.
Everybody was having a good Saturday. All right, here we go. We're about 10 seconds. Are you going to the Georgia game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Split Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Again, can't thank them enough. Welcoming in Luke Robinson now. Luke, you kind of have had a tough week. You've had a loss in your family, so our thoughts and prayers are with you and Krista and the loss of her father. So again, but we do appreciate you jumping in here to finish out the show. You're going to head over to the Alabama Georgia game today, and we just talked a little bit about Auburn, so let's shift over and talk about Alabama. Alabama, since the Ole Miss game, has really kind of found themselves, and it's kind of an odd dynamic. I thought the other night watching Alabama, Mark Sears didn't look like he was going to do much again. I think he had 0 points at half and then comes out and has a tremendous second half and looks like his old self.
Yeah, he did look better. I think he had 17 points and 9 assists.
What's going on there? What's the deal? It's odd, man.
I do think that it's one of those things where you go back to even something like the Illinois game. And he had 0 points and he played a lot. And in fact, in that game, I'd forgotten this aspect, but in that game, he had said, "Hey, I don't need to go back in. They're playing better without me out there right now." Mm-hmm. That was a big time show of leadership, if you ask me. Absolutely. Well, then you fast forward to the Ole Miss game, or not necessarily the Ole Miss game, the game before that, the game after that, where he has 0 points against LSU, and he's just not himself. And it seems like he's in a bit of a spat with the coaching staff. And I think the coaches, Nate Oates came out. Nate Oates has been very upfront about this. Said, look, I said, we're going to play with the team that gives us the best chance to win. And he said, and I was going to put Mark out there. I wasn't going to start him in the second half. He didn't start Cliff Amore either. He said, I was going to put Mark out there after a few minutes, but then I looked at his body language. I said, I'm not going to do it. And I'll tell you something, as a guy who has seen this sport go from complete coach, authoritarian, whole picture, it's now gone to players have all the control.
Right.
And so to see a coach step up and say, no, we're not going to do it that way. And if I get heat, I just get heat. And if we lose, we lose. Thank God. I feel like
it's kind of a breath of fresh. It's kind of a breath of fresh air, to be honest.
I'm like, finally, that's like, as much as I love me some Mark Sears, and he'll go down as, one of Alabama's 10 best players, I believe. But holy cow, we needed it.
But I think all these coaches, Luke, you hit the nail on the head. They're coaching scared to their best players. And when you do that, and when you have coaches in the society and in the way the sport's been played now, it doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, baseball, when that player has the say over what you do, then you have no control anymore. So I think maybe Nate Oates probably sent a message not only to Mark Sears, but the whole team is like, look, I don't have a problem sitting this guy who is the best player on our team right over here on the bench, and we'll either win or lose without him. And I applaud him for that effort. I praise him for that effort, because you're right. I don't see it happening anymore. You can try to be all gruff and tough as a coach, but at the end of the day, we know that these players are dictating what goes on. I'm glad to see him sit him down.
Yeah, me too. And it goes back also to, you go back to the Brandon Miller situation from way back when. There's so many people. I know a former host on this show was just adamant, he should have been suspended. And I said, well, for what? He was never charged with anything. And he said, well, he shouldn't be out that late. Well, it's okay. But it's a free country, and I'd be willing to bet that players are out that late all the time, everywhere. And he was in a bad circumstance that just sort of sprung upon him. He didn't instigate it. He wasn't even a defendant. He really was kind of wrong place, wrong time. And while Nate Oates probably shouldn't have said that in the moment because it sounded uncaring towards the victim, at the same time, it's not wrong. And there's timing involved. And he didn't ever sit him. And I at first I was like, I'd probably sit him for a game. And then as a friend of mine who's close to the program said, what would you sit him for? Would you sit him for being out with his friends after a game? Because then we'd have to sit most of the players. And we'd have to sit most of the players most of the games. And most of the other teams would have to sit most of the players most of the games.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I guess that's right. He was like, look, we just got to all accept it's a different era. And it's not the Bear Bryant, everybody's going to be in bed at 10 o'clock. And he said, you know what? Tell you something else. When Bear Bryant said everybody's going to be in bed at 10 o'clock, guess who wasn't in bed at 10 o'clock? Most of the players.
Right.
and that's just the way it is.
When we live in the social media world now where everything's videoed and everything is seen. And I'll say this, and going back to that Brandon Miller incident, and look, rightfully or wrongfully, I think that was the right thing. And you can see that public opinion or public pressure would be what you would have sat him for. Not for anything he did. You would have sat him because, this is what everybody wants to see, and our program's going to catch hell if we don't do it that way. Look, we just saw an instance happen in Alex City with a quote about a coach here, and that got misconstrued, and people got all bent out of shape thinking he was taking a shot at somebody else. And, it's like, well, he needs to – I can't believe he say that. He needs to apologize. And it's like, well, I didn't say it that way, and that's not what I intended. What am I apologizing for? Are you apologizing just because everybody else out there thinks you said it that way? Don't do it just because of appeasement of social media world. If you did something wrong, apologize or be punished for it. But if you didn't, there ain't nothing to say. It's just the way you think of the situation versus the way somebody else thinks of the situation.
Well, and also what you have to remember is there are people who already have built-in biases towards whoever.
Exactly right.
And also people hate it when other people are on top. And they're like, I knew he was a bad guy. Well, Brandon Miller's had zero problems before that, zero problems after that. And I'll tell you, I've been in a situation in my time when I was with some people that I didn't even think were bad people, but you get caught up and you're like,
well, guess what Brandon Miller may have done? Well, guess what Brandon Miller may have done? Maybe he said, look, I won't ever do that again.
Yeah.
I won't ever be like, that was my time. I've learned my lesson. That's what we would like to all think that happens with a lot of these kids, because we were all that age at one point in time. And I can tell you, I was in places that I probably shouldn't have been. And I'm glad I got the heck out of there before something bad happened. And
but if you had been there when something bad had happened,
right,
you would be associated with it
that's
forever.
Exactly right.
And that's not fair either. Especially if you did nothing. And it's guilt by association. But again,
we know that's
we're rehashing an old thing. But I think what it proved to me is Nate Oates, while he certainly has his flaws, and he certainly has his flaws with some ways that he phrases things from time to time, especially, but
he's a socially awkward kind of guy. I'm not trying to pick on him.
I mean, he's a math guy.
Well,
math guys that aren't awkward.
Right. If you watch him, he's kind of got some ticks. He kind of, he just, again, we all got stuff that we all do weird stuff. And he's just kind of, he kind of gets up there and he's kind of got that, you're right, analytical mindset type response to things. And so, being in front of a bunch of people with a bunch of cameras and crap in front of your face, people say, well, you don't get used to it. Well, sometimes you don't. I mean, sometimes that's just who you are. So,
well, not only that, when it's in front of your face and they're asking you big questions about, you're sitting Mark Sears, what the heck's all that about? And what if it is something, that's another thing. I think it was just something kind of internal that should just be handled. I mean, and maybe we as fans and reporters didn't need to know the whole story.
Well, we don't have to know every single thing that goes on.
I don't like to know how the sausage is made all the time, Brett. I've said all along. Right, I used to love recruiting a lot more before I saw I didn't even see all of it, but I saw some of the underbelly, and I was like, yeah, it kind of takes away from the, because you always like to think people go to your school for this reason or that school for this reason.
And then you find out that's not really the case.
And it's just not the case. But what I'm saying is, in the end, I think Mark Sears handled it pretty well. He came back. He didn't have like this breakout game. I mean, 17 points is not bad, but 9 assists is awesome. But I still wouldn't say he was like the catalyst for that game. Obviously, I think that was Chris Youngblood, who was 7 of 10 from beyond the arc.
Right. Hey, let's go ahead and get this last break in. We'll keep it going. All right, stay tuned. One final segment right after this. No, but Chris Youngblood, to me, is the X factor for y'all right now.
He's finally playing like the former league player of the year that he was. What is this video he's talking about? You and Luke need to break down the video.
What video? Oh, where?
The live where Justin Clayton says you and Luke need to play that video live post show and break.
Oh, okay. The Star Wars video. I'll bring it back up. Which when they released Phantom Menace in '99, and they had a live shot of one of the theaters and opening the door, and all the Star Wars nerds ran in and fell down and got trampled, and guys collapsing, and then they got down there and they were fighting with the lightsabers before the movie started. I mean, it is nothing. It was like a kid at Christmas on steroids.
Well, they got to feel stupid now because that movie stunk.
But everybody was just so excited that there was a new Star Wars movie coming out. They didn't give a crap what it was.
I hated that. I hated everything about it. I hated young Greedo.
You didn't like
young Anakin.
Darth Maul.
When they decided, that was the movie, I think, where they said, look at the Mando-chloridians and numbering particles that determine how good of a Jedi you are or whatever. I gave up on Star Wars. I was like, again, you ruin stuff by taking the mystery out of it. Right. I go back to Jaws. It's my favorite movie of all time, but it was scarier when we didn't know exactly what the shark looked like. The worst scene in that movie is when the shark is up on the boat, still trying to gnaw. And a shark on the planet. Every shark that does that is going to want to be trying to get off that boat. And so that's the worst scene in the movie.
Well, that's what makes Jaws. He's not like every other shark.
It's not like he wears sunglasses and solves mysteries. He's still hungry and he still wants to live. That's all sharks want to do. Richard Dreyfuss said it in the movie. All they do is swim, eat, and make baby sharks.
That's it. That's their purpose. That's all they do. They keep things in check. They're the top.
If he did wear I'll tell you what, I think on Jaws 4, he may have worn sunglasses and solved mysteries. That's the one he went to the I think Jaws 4 is the one that he went to the Bahamas, or was that Jaws 5?
That's 3. Well, I thought that was
no. 3 was the 3D.
Oh yeah. That's right. I think it's 4. And we went to the Bahamas.
He had Mario Van Peebles.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yep.
I bet you nobody out there has seen Rappin' Hood but me.
I've never seen it. Mario Van Peebles with those glasses.
He had to squint to see through them. They were that big. And then Michael Caine. You're like, Michael Caine was doing everything but guy on guy porn at that time. He was doing every movie he could get.
He was in Phantom Menace too.
He was in all. Michael Caine was Anakin's butler. No lightsaber, sir.
Man, he's been in all kind of movies.
And then Richard Dreyfuss's wife was, from the first Jaws movie.
Yes.
God almighty, she was so happy to get another script. They were like, "Would you like to do this really bad? I'll do it."
All right, here's 3 minutes, 3 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown, presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill, the last segment of the Sports Countdown show here. I think, now that we've shifted over to movie review of how bad some of these movies were, we will stay over a little bit when we get off here in just a minute for TV and radio. Break that movie down for Justin so everybody you haven't seen it yet, but it's John made us pull it up. I showed it to everybody. It's pretty special. I'll put it that way. All right, so let's go around the league to close out this segment here. Big day in college basketball here in the SEC, and again, every time you're going to have great games just because you've got a potential of 13 teams making it in to the NCAA tournament right now. You got Arkansas going to Kentucky, Luke. Rick Pitino takes a bad Arkansas team back to his former stomping grounds in Kentucky. So not a lot of drama here for tonight at 8 o'clock. This is just not a good Arkansas team.
No, and they lost Boogie Plan for the year. That hurts.
Right.
I'll tell you, Arkansas fans have buyer's remorse right now. There's no doubt about it. The Locked On Razorbacks guy's been on Feinbaum here recently. He's got a lot of notoriety out of this. It's a good thing for him. And it's something. I mean, because Kentucky feels like the school that is resuscitating itself, and Arkansas feels like they have fallen off the map despite all this talent they have coming in. They've got more talent coming in next year, but you still sort of have the belief that no matter how much talent they have and again, I'm not educated enough about it to know, or even talented enough to know if this is right, but there are folks, anonymous coaches in articles saying, Calipari's methods are just antiquated. And
I said that yesterday. I used that exact word yesterday. I said it's passed him by. I think he looks disinterested, and I think it's antiquated. I think the way they play the game's antiquated. So, but yeah, I don't think. Again, Kentucky's favored by 10.5. I don't think there'll be much to that one. Texas A&M will go to South Carolina. South Carolina's that team now that everybody goes, can we please not be the one game that they win? So you're on edge. Texas A&M, I mean, they're number 13 in the country.
They're going to beat somebody, though.
And I think South Carolina could beat Texas A&M. I mean, I'm not overly impressed with them. I'm not. Even though
they're a lot better at home.
They are a lot better at home. So they go to South Carolina. That could be a fun one. A&M's only a 5.5-point favorite there. Texas goes to LSU. Texas is a 1.5-point favorite. I watched that LSU team this week play Auburn. They're terrible. They just aren't very good. They just don't have very good players. And, but Texas isn't Auburn, and Texas isn't Alabama. And if Texas doesn't go down and play well, I think LSU could beat them. So I just don't think LSU is very good.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Texas feels like a team that they sort of have a South Carolina vibe about it. I mean, they've beaten some teams.
They have.
But they've also, been very close to beating others and just not been able to get over the hump. I think Texas is okay. I mean, they're not bad. That Cam Johnson is that his name?
Right.
He's good.
He is good.
And but otherwise they just don't have a lot. I know Alabama goes there. I think it's a week from Wednesday. So that Alabama's stretch of they got Georgia today, they got Arkansas, then they week off, then Arkansas next Saturday, and then Texas. Those are the only 3 unranked teams they play left on their schedule. And so, I mean, the thought is, and 2 of them are on the road. So they need to go 3-0 in that stretch if they can.
I want to go through these. We got 2 minutes left, Luke. Vanderbilt at Oklahoma. That could be really interesting because Vanderbilt could get to 17 wins if they go on the road today and beat Oklahoma. Missouri, Mississippi State, that's 2 even teams. Mississippi State's a 6.5-point favorite, but wouldn't be surprised if Missouri won that ball game. But I want your take real quick in 1 minute. Florida goes to Tennessee. Man, Tennessee's on a 2-game losing streak. They may lose another one here.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. I think this is the kind of game Tennessee does win, though, because it's at home. And remember, Tennessee's got a little bit of revenge factor here. You think they're going to show up motivated. Playing Tennessee, it feels like if they played Florida every time in Gainesville, Florida might win all those games by 30 because Tennessee won't get those calls they get at home. If Tennessee plays them in Tennessee and they get the bully ball, they get to hit you in the face with several elbows and knees and ankles and everything else like they do most of the time, then I think Tennessee can win.
Well, let's just think about this, Luke. If they do lose this game, they will have lost 4 out of their last 5 games.
Yeah, because I feel like this is Tennessee's game to win. I really do. And I think they're going to push Florida around a little bit. And they're out for a little bit of measure of revenge because that game really did bring them back down to earth. They really, in a way, haven't recovered from that blowout.
No, they've been struggling for sure. All right, we got to get out for TV and radio. Again, want to thank everybody for watching and listening. We'll be back with you next week for another edition of the Sports Split Saturday Sports Countdown. Have a great weekend, everybody. All right, so we'll keep going. But yeah, but you think about Tennessee, man, that is, you don't really think about it. I mean, as good as they've been, but you're right. They got blown out and they came back and they beat Texas by 4. They beat Georgia. Then they lose to Vanderbilt. They squeak one out against Mississippi State. Then they lose to Auburn, lose to Kentucky. And now they've got this game coming up with Florida. And if they lose that one, man, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, they all of a sudden, I mean, I was talking to Jimmy about this the other day that we were like talking about before the Mississippi State game. He said, I think Mississippi State's one of the top 5 teams in the conference. And I said, well, I guess you're talking about behind Bama, Auburn, Florida, and Kentucky. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, what about Tennessee? He said, I guess they're behind Tennessee too. And even though they beat Mississippi State, and they did beat Mississippi State at their place, I mean, on a neutral court, I'm not so sure I wouldn't take Mississippi State.
I'm not either. So Tennessee's a 3.5-point favorite there. Then you got Georgia and Alabama at 3:00 this afternoon. And, if Alabama just does what they do, they'll take care of Georgia. I mean, Asa Newell and what's his name? Demery. Is it Demery Jones? I mean, they got 2 good players, but I mean, outside of that, I don't think they're much. And, Auburn and Ole Miss, that game kind of scares me a little bit. I'll be honest.
Because it's there.
Yeah, but Ole Miss doesn't score. So they've only scored 80 points in SEC play one time this year. So if Auburn defends well, they can probably withstand, not playing as good. But I'd like to see them start playing a little bit better. They haven't played, to me, the best basketball the last few games.
It sounds silly to say, but it may be a loss, may be a good thing.
Well, no, a pressure release. I've already said that. Every win in basketball builds pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does. And you're like, all right, when's it going to happen? Because you can't finish. I mean, nobody's finished undefeated since 76 with Indiana. So, I mean, Kentucky almost did it when they were 30.
And Kentucky did finish the regular
They lost in the final, but they lost in the Final Four.
And the Kentucky's done the regular season undefeated just in the SEC.
Right.
Several times, I think. But
right.
I don't know about several. I mean, a few. But, I think, the catch is, what if it's not a pressure release? What if it's a sign of things to come like Tennessee? That's the catch. That's why you obviously want to win them all. But I could see where, just watching Auburn play, they look like the weight of the, what people are saying about them is really big. Heavy as the crown. When you're number one, there's a lot of pressure. And, maybe they're a little bit better being the number 3 team in the country and still getting a 1 seed. And,
right,
and not going in with that huge bullseye on your back. I mean, we've seen Purdue have to have it, and it cost them. We've seen Kentucky, and it cost them. The only team that I can really remember where it hadn't really cost them is UConn. We're like, yeah, they're the number one team in the country, and nobody's screwing around with them. So, and they were just sick. But
we'll see. I mean, that game will be. I got to show you this video before we get off.
You gonna put it up?
Well, I'm gonna have to hold it up with the phone. I can't pull it up through this way, so because it's on Instagram. So, let's see. Come on, man.
That was an old Rapid Hood video.
Yeah, it was. All right, I'm gonna have to.
I can't see it.
Right, hold on 1 second.
I feel like trying to insult Comic Dog. Which one of those buttons calls your mama to come pick you up?
I mean, these Sun Guns, boy, I ain't storming the dang theater. Now, I don't know who this guy is. But I mean.
Are we sure those are lightsabers?
That's a good question. All right, so they're about to show the screen. Now listen to them when the music starts. All right, that starts. Now watch. It kind of calms down a little bit. Now listen.
If they had only known then how crappy Jar Jar Binks was.
If they only knew then that was the peak of the night right there.
That was the best part of the whole
That was the best part of the whole movie, was when that popped
on. All right. Thank you. Sorry to be so late.
No, man. Hey, appreciate you, buddy. Let us know if you need anything.
All right, buddy. See y'all.
All right, buddy. See you. All right, R. Stews. What's up, buddy? Hey, R. Stews, while I got you right quick, got to get you your hat. If you'll send me a friend request on Facebook, that way I can message you, or you can message me and get your address so I can either send this to you or meet up with you, whatever. I got to get you your hat. So let me know if you'll do that. Yes, with a T, Pritchard, Brett Pritchard with a T. Yeah, go find me out there and send me a friend request. That way I can send you a message, and then we can hook up that way. Okay, brother? We appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for watching this morning. Let me see. I'll hang on to see if you can get that done real quick because we've been needing to get you this hat. Again, we get to 600 subscribers. We're going to give some more stuff away. We've already given a couple hats away and T-shirts, and I got my Auburn Blitz T-shirt on this morning. So make sure if you want some of this stuff, we'd love to send it out to you. Got to get to 600 subscribers. And we're close. We're getting there. So spread the word. Help us out a little bit. We got to 500 really fast. And now we're trying to slow crawl it. And we'll do some really big stuff giveaways when we get to 1,000 subscribers. So, yes, I did see the comments in the previous stream before this. Yes. No, I can't see them now. They're gone. If you'll just shoot that to me, and you can actually, I don't think you actually have to befriend me on Facebook. You can actually send me a message. So just shoot that over to me, brother, whenever you get a chance. I'm about to have to get off and Got you, brother. Just confirmed you. Okay, buddy. All right, so let's I'll send you a message and we'll get hooked up on that hat, brother. Okay. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. We'll catch you on Monday morning for the Auburn Blitz podcast at 8 o'clock. Me and Faith will be back with everybody. So have a great weekend, everybody.